5 Rejections of Accountability. It is fundamental that we remain unaccountable for our actions. Our narcissism achieves this. Unconsciously we're lesser or mid-range, consciously we're greater or ultra. If you cause us to be accountable, you threaten our control, and therefore we never can be. Accountability is a fetter upon us, and affects control. Our hypersensitivity to control means that cannot happen. Not only is it the case that we are entitled to complete immunity for what we say and do, occasioned by the necessity of control, we also maintain that it is necessary for us to be able to gather fuel as often and as effectively as we can. If we are slowed down by having to make meaningful apologies, explain ourselves repeatedly, account for what we have done, and accept responsibility for the consequences, this would absorb time that would be far better spent in the pursuit of fuel. It would also impact upon our sense of control. Hampering us in such a way would result in us becoming weaker, since we wouldn't be able to gather as much fuel as usual. It is therefore necessary, so that we remain sleek, effective, flight of foot, mobile, for us to never be concerned about accountability, and also to never allow responsibility to rest with us. As with many of our machinations, this approach allows us to gather fuel and the imposition of control, and we do this by blame shifting, usually onto you, and the astonished and outraged emotional response which then flows from this staggering act of walking away scot-free. As ever, words are our best allies when it comes to throwing off the attempt to make us assume the mantle of responsibility. Here are 5 common rejections of accountability used by narcissists. Number 1. What do you expect me to do about it? The narcissist will regularly brag about how brilliant and special he is, that he has many talents, and, if he so chose, he could remedy many situations within moments. But notwithstanding this being the stance that is adopted to the world at large, the narcissist isn't going to do that with you. Not a chance. He's not here to pick up the pieces after you, although he expects you to do the same for him. I and the narcissists, like me, can do as we like, and you're obliged to make good the damage that we cause. Collect the broken pieces of crockery. Apologize to the shell-shocked friend after an outburst. Try to solve the financial headache that we have left. If you've caused a problem, and let's face it, it's always going to be your fault, you can't expect us to do anything about it. We are above such menial tasks. We have much more important and bigger things to attend to. Such as, we don't have to explain ourselves to the likes of you. If we cause the problem, which in your reality is invariably the case, we won't do anything about it, because that enables us to reject accountability, maintain control, and draw fuel from you. Number 2, deal with it. That's the way it is, and you'd better get used to it. This haughty declaration is par the course for our sense of entitlement to do as we please. We bulldoze through everything, and you just have to put up with it. You can't walk away. We will not allow that to happen. Issuing this barked instruction at you is an effective way of upsetting you. It is telling you that you are useless, and you should just be getting on with the situation, rather than complaining about it. You shouldn't be complaining. You should have already guessed that you needed to sort the situation out. Don't ask us for help, because we just don't have time for that Mickey Mouse nonsense. Number 3. You caused this to happen. We like to maintain that we act with the omnipotence of a god, but how many times have you found that you have somehow caused something to happen so that it would suggest that you exercise the powers of a deity? My late arrival was down to you. My failure to remember something was caused by you. My infidelity for the 6th time was wholly as a consequence of what you have done, or failed to have done. At its most brutal, this declaration is issued without any explanation whatsoever as to why it is that you caused the problem. You ask, what did I do? Why is it my fault? And you're met with, because it is. We say that it is the case, therefore that must be right. Does this exchange sound familiar? Why is that the case? It just is. But why? Because I say so. Other than our kind, Who comes out with such assertions bereft of explanation? That's right, children. That tells you all you need to know about the focus of certain narcissists when we accuse you of being the one that has caused the problems. If you are fortunate enough to be given some kind of explanation, it makes perfect sense, of course, when viewed from our perspective, although it will never do so from yours. That is the way the narcissism works. It needs you to feel astonished, bewildered, and annoyed at our sheer audacity to make the connection between our wrongdoing and your causation. For instance, we will say things such as, "If you were more loving, I wouldn't go elsewhere." What do you mean by that? I couldn't be any more loving towards you. Oh, that's right. Deny it's anything to do with you, and make me out to be the bad person. Well, it is you who had the affair, caused by you. How? I've already told you. If you can't accept that, then there's no point continuing with this conversation. You will get no acceptance of blame. All you get is a tenuous, from your perspective but not ours, explanation as to why our wrongdoing is all down to you. Number 4. Why do you have to spoil everything? A cousin of the third, rejection of accountability described earlier, but with an added layer of blame. In the earlier example, you've caused the problem, although you may not necessarily have intended it. With this statement, we are telling you that not only is the problem not of our doing, it's your fault, and guess what? You meant to do it, because you're such an awful and horrible person. Our rampant paranoia causes us to believe that you are out to get us, to topple us, and that you're plotting to unseat us as a consequence of our behaviour towards you during devaluation. This is why, whenever anything goes wrong, you are the architect of that misfortune, as you have purposefully, from our perspective, set out to cause a problem for us, driven by your innate nastiness and jealousy, because, of course, you're painted black. Number 5. Why do you make my life so hard? Invariably trotted out by lesser and particularly mid-range narcissists. The poor narcissist, put upon by you and your terrible behaviours. This is often thrown at you by lesser and mid-range narcissists when you begin to wise up to their manipulations, and either through choice or out of sheer exhaustion, you're no longer engaging with our provocations and machinations. What the narcissist is actually saying to you here is, why are you making it so hard to control you and extract fuel from you? Your failure to play ball and do what we want is causing us to expend more energy in order to control you and draw negative fuel from you. And in accordance with, and especially where it comes to lesser and mid-range narcissist outlook as victim, you must be doing this on purpose. We need control, we need that fuel, and you ought to be helping us, not hindering us. No wonder we lash out at you, as we only do so because you are horrible, and you're making the narcissist's life hard and far more difficult than it should ever be. These are 5 common rejections of accountability, which you need to be familiar with and understand why they are being used, and that where they are being issued, you're dealing with, in all likelihood, a narcissist, or where it has been confirmed that you're dealing with a narcissist, these are the common manipulations utilised to assert control through the rejection of responsibility and accountability. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.